Welcome back to another episode of Casa de Confidence. My friends, what happens when a high level coach, orthopedic expert, and new mom decides she's done shrinking physically, emotionally, and professionally? You get a woman who's here to disrupt the narrative, but performance is something that has been a narrative, especially when it comes to women. So, we're going to unpack a lot of different things, and we want to know what high performance for women it's supposed to look like or can be like, specifically in this day and age. Welcome to the show, Daffney Allwein.
Thanks, Julie. I'm glad to be here.
I am excited that you are here, and I want to unpack so many different things specifically because I've told you this in the past. I think when I was in my corporate career, I would have jumped at the opportunity to quickly make you the person that I partner with that help me, because sometimes we are juggling so many different balls, and yet we fall back to the script that the world gives us and we shrink. I wonder for you, as you've been doing this work, when did you first realize that helping women not shrink is something that you were passionate about?
I think we all took in a lot of new roles, new situations in COVID, and having expanded the last 20 years in coaching with wellness in mind and performance and seeing people really succeed on every level of their health. Um, I think COVID was the big decision, like was the big switch for a lot of people
Yeah.
because the fear was prevalent for everybody, and people didn't know what was next. Where's the next thing? And instantly our reaction in those fearful times is to shrink, to go
Mhm.
back to what we used to know or what felt safe to us. And if anything, this was just an opportunity to give people permission to not buy into that narrative and know that there's an opportunity on the end of this.
I love that you're talking about not buying into narratives because, again, we have, especially for women, the narratives that this is how you're supposed to show up as a mom, as a daughter, as a sister, as a wife, as a girlfriend, as a professional. And really, my goal with the podcast has always been to show others what is possible for them. And I love the work that you're doing, but I would imagine that as it is with many coaches, right? We do the work for others that we had to do with ourselves. Was there a time in your own life that maybe you found yourself shrinking?
Oof. It's I mean, I work in an industry, or I started an industry that actually values people shrinking, right? If you are
Mhm.
skinny, if you are small, if you
Mhm.
are packaged, and the smaller you are, the more value you have and the more
Yeah.
willing you are to bend and flex and go with whatever the trend is and whatever's being, sold in that chasm is
Mhm.
actually valuable. And it's wow, what an awakening. So when I no longer decided to work for other people,
Mhm.
and I decided that this was really work that I dynamically needed to do on my own without any other oversight, we'll call it that. That was 2013. I
Wow.
left, went out on my own, and just started consulting,
Mhm.
and meeting one on one with three larger law firms here in Washington D.C.
Mhm.
And just seeing those clients in real time, and in whatever was coming up, whatever transition they were going through, and not forgetting how important their movement and their wellness is as a whole package.
Mhm. Mm. I have to let the listeners know to continue to put the conversation into context that Daphne is a professional executive coach, fitness and nutrition expert, and the founder of Lift Pro Wellness. And again, she's had over 2 decades of helping elite professionals. And when it comes to this fitness, wellness world, right, we got a lot of different flavors. And one of the things that really resonated about her work, again, because I needed her and people that are in those high achievers, we tend to burn out really quickly. And I would imagine that you see that a lot, specifically in the role and in the work that you're doing. Tell me a little bit about what are the first symptoms that you start to see with someone who is either in the on the road to burnout or already there, but they don't know it themselves.
Um, there seems to be for a lot of folks, they're coming in with a really interesting change or transition or
Hmm.
problem in their life. Sometimes it's their immune system. Sometimes it's arthritis or some sort of body pain that they can't quite narrow down. Sometimes it's a divorce. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's something going on with their home life or their children or even their parents. And the reason they're coming in is they're looking for support in every aspect,
Hmm.
right? And you don't realize it at first. Sometimes you're just moving your body and you're trying to hold it all together and you're thinking that the exercise is really about performance and building muscles, but what you're really
Hmm.
doing is healing yourself.
Hmm.
So by having these really important conversations while you're moving, allows your body to feel safe, if that makes sense. And it actually
Hmm.
makes these conversations a lot easier.
Yeah.
When you start to feel safe in your body, when you start to unpack and unravel, and when you have the right coach who knows who you trust and you feel safe with, the right questions can lead you to the answers. And in sort of pointing out exactly what you're saying about the
Hmm.
burnout is
Yep.
all of a sudden I'm sick every week, or every weekend I'm
Hmm.
spent on the couch, or I'm not
Hmm.
sleeping,
Yep.
or the doctor has all of my levels look normal to the doctor, but I feel terrible. Like
Hmm.
all of these sort of things that are about adrenal fatigue or cortisol, or, oh, well, it must be menopause. That's
Right.
my favorite diagnosis. Every time, a doctor can't explain to you what's going on in your
It's
body. Well,
menopause.
this must be perimenopause, or this
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
So let's give you a pill, or let's give you this, as
Yep.
opposed to really getting down to you're not filling yourself back up. You're not really
Hmm.
investing in your
Yeah.
health. You're just taking a pill to get rid of the symptoms.
No, absolutely. And, as I'm hearing you speak, I loved that you're talking about the deep conversations that you can have with someone. I probably haven't talked about this on the podcast a lot, but when I went through my divorce, as many women who are starting a new life, right? Taking care of your health is incredibly important. So I moved out of Manhattan, moved to Brooklyn. The first thing I did, got a therapist, got a coach, and also got a trainer. And I will tell you that the most fruitful conversations that helped me tremendously to put myself on not only the path to healing, but to really understanding how the stress and all of the minutia was affecting me physically was really in talking to my coach and talking to my trainer and having these deep conversations. It's interesting. My coach, we're still friends, and one of the things that he pointed out to me once is that I am I would bitch and moan like, "Oh, you kidding me? What am I going to do this?" But if he kept me talking, I never paid attention to what I was doing, and I could get through the hard stuff
Yeah.
because I was sort of unloading. Fast forward, 12, I don't know how many years later, now in Connecticut, right before the pandemic, I was going through again some transformation in my own personal development life. And I have an autoimmune, and every once in a while that comes up, and I don't like, I don't take anything for it. But I was working with a trainer again. And one of the things that, again, helped me tremendously in working with this new trainer here in Connecticut is, again, the conversations, unpacking, and really talking about the things that sometimes we need to not necessarily get advice on, but just bring to the awareness and bring to a level where we see the thing that's underneath. Do you
Yeah.
find that with your clients as well?
Yeah, I don't know if you've read this book, but it is the most compelling thing you can read. The body keeps the score,
I love that
right?
book. It's one of my
We can
favorite ones. Yeah.
hide, we can
Yeah.
shield, we can
Hmm.
overcompensate with personality
Hmm.
and costuming and performance, right?
Hmm.
But your body doesn't lie, right? When it
100%.
and when you're in the health and fitness and you're into anatomy and you understand the mechanics of the body, when you're watching somebody perform a motion, whether it's balance or something specific to your
Yeah.
regime, and also watching them speak and
Mm.
let go of some of that fascia, let go of
Mhm.
some of that tightness while they're speaking, while they're actioning their own body, you can see the difference between rep 1 and rep
Mhm.
15 if you do it properly, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
it's moving therapy. It really is moving
Absolutely.
therapy. And I think there's also a thought process when you're going into a therapist's office that you need to kind of button up right away.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
to
right?
be like, who doesn't go into therapy just a little bit defensive? Like,
Yeah, I didn't wanna be judged.
I know they're going to call me
Right.
out, or I didn't wear the right outfit, or they're going to
Mhm.
in the gym or in, and we do ours virtual, which is even
Mhm.
better. Like I have found since
Mm.
pandemic and moving to a virtual format with clients, they're in their homes. Like there is
Yeah.
no one to look at them and judge them when they're doing movements, which is one of
Mhm.
the biggest things that keeps people from starting a workout routine is
Yeah.
that fear of the public, how other people are going to perceive their movement or their inability to do something. When we're
Mhm.
virtual, it's you and I, and no one's judging. I'm the one watching, but I'm also watching from the I'm asking you a question, watching
Mhm.
you unpack some of that tightness, that stiffness,
Mhm.
that immobility.
Yeah.
And it's so transformative. Like you'd be amazed what 45 minutes can do.
Mhm.
And not that I don't think anyone should go to their psychiatrist or their therapist,
Right.
but moving therapy is an
100%.
incredible way. And
Yeah.
oof.
Yeah, I love that you brought up about the body keeps the score. And of course, in retrospect, right? When I look at my autoimmune diagnosis, it really came from not only, I believe, a lot of the things that obviously, and again, you experience in life and the things I grew up in a country that was going through civil war until I was 10. And from that, of course, my parents were divorced. We moved. I was incredibly close to my grandmother. And then all of a sudden, she's not in my life because we moved. So there's so many different things that sort of began to piled up. And of course, my first marriage. Not that I'm blaming my first marriage or husband for anything that happened in my body, but it was just the accumulation of so many different things. And it had to show up in some way.
And
And
when you even think about it, like revisiting relationships,
mhm,
even if maybe it was with your parents originally, the relationship you had with
mhm,
them moves on to a husband, moves on to it's funny, we just keep doing repetitions, right? We
mhm,
keep
absolutely.
repeating the same thing, the same muscle structure, the same
Yeah.
movements, the same posture, the same stress until we learn the right exercise to free our
Mhm.
body.
Yeah. So true, so true. And even now as a caretaker, my mom moving in with us, it's interesting because I can tell and I've learned enough about myself that I can tell when I'm being pushed and because I start to feel the fatigue and some of the symptoms of a flare up. And
Mhm.
in the last 6 months, I've had to step away, take time, go for a walk, kind of unpack, journal, or just sit and do nothing.
Yeah.
Just to give myself the space.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that people really underestimate when it comes to creating a wellness
Yeah.
routine. That it's not
Yeah.
just about the how hard you're going to work out and how much salad you can eat, correct?
I mean, that's not smart movement. That's not smart exercise. That's
Mhm.
fine if you're an athlete
Yeah.
and you have a very specific, and this is into the minutia of training and the programming that we do. But the truth is, it has to be a match for
Mhm.
you and what you want to
Yeah.
accomplish. So there's no reason to be doing high intensity training every day
Mhm.
if you're not gearing up for an NBA season, right? Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's so. And every season, like in
Yeah.
any athlete,
Mhm.
is there's an appropriate exercise and
Yeah.
thing. But it's also, I mean, to speak to what you were saying, like it's hard to give yourself permission to
Mhm.
remove your energy from situations because we're
Yeah.
conditioned, right?
Absolutely.
As children
Mhm.
that we owe people our energy. We owe people,
Yeah.
this unconditional support and no boundaries and things like that. So part of this is relearning those boundaries to protect your body,
Right.
to show up stronger and to show up bigger and not be afraid to say, nope. this is my boundary. I'm not shrinking from this boundary.
Oh, so good. Not shrinking is definitely what I hope our listeners walk away with specifically because, again, like you said, it's a conditioning, is that false belief. And so many times we're moving with this white noise, as I call it, of life that we're just doing. And we don't realize what we're thinking, how is that affecting us, not only mentally, but physically.
Mm.
And it really depletes our energy. Now, you've said your energy is your currency. So, what was the most expensive withdrawal you've ever made from your own energy bank?
Oof. You know, it a little bit what we just said. I had to make a really solid decision to remove myself from obligatory relationships. So in
Mm,
my life, and pandemic gave us a big opportunity to do that,
yeah.
right? I can't see you, I
Mhm.
can't expend
Right.
energy. The holidays look different, whatever the case may be. But recognizing where the energy loss
Hmm.
was really at my roots, really
Ooh.
at the obligatory sort of belief that I owed certain people respect that
Hmm.
probably didn't deserve respect, that institutions were the way to go, and not saying to myself, I have confidence. I know what I'm doing. I know I can be impactful. Know I can help, and I don't need 30 people to agree with me.
That's right. Yeah. That's really one of the things that again also being here in this online world and working with women, I've had to define that for myself as well and know that I can kind of decide what this looks like. And it doesn't have to mimic somebody else. It doesn't have to have the check of approval from somebody else. And it's difficult because that's what we've been programmed. I do want to ask you, Daphne, something that if it's okay of a personal matter, because I did not go through IVF, but definitely there were some times in which we were pursuing having children and you became a mom later in life.
I did, yeah.
And if I asked the version of you 5 years ago that thought what life would look like now, what would she get wrong about that picture?
Yep. Yep. That's a very dynamic question because we have the hindsight 2020 way to say,
Hmm.
wow, I just said to my husband yesterday, I was like, we would not have been ready for this. We would not have been ready for
Mm-hmm.
this. The way our lives were structured and set up, and the way we were in burnout mode, ready to go,
Yeah.
both of us career wise.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I would not be able to have this incredible experience I do now in my 40s with
Yeah.
these incredible souls who honestly my teachers, biggest teachers I could have asked for, and also just a mirror to who
Yeah.
I probably was at that age and things like that. Just it's incredible, but I always focused on the 8 years I lost doing IVF
Hmm.
over and over and over and never working and making me sick, giving me shingles. I'm such a healthy person, right? How did I get
Right.
shingles? How did I get a geriatric disease? And it all came down to stressing my body,
Hmm.
thinking that I was in control and then I needed to force a situation because the narrative was that you don't want to be an old mom.
Hmm.
You don't want to be somebody who doesn't have energy or time or what. I have more time than ever to really engage now. And if I could give one piece of advice to anybody who's actually struggling in that world, is that babies come when they're supposed to. Babies
That's
choose
right.
babies choose their time. These souls choose their time, and their time is immaculate, not ours. They're not on
Hmm.
our schedule.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the things that we have to be ready, right? And again, through my infertility journey, I found that I wanted to be ready, and then I had to decide, maybe there's a reason for the journey that I'm on, and subsequently, right, my dad got incredibly sick and I was there for him. And had I had children like my sisters, I probably wouldn't have been able to show up for him. And now, of course, here for my mom as well. And if I had children, that would look very different. And I don't know if I would be able to have my own business and grow and support others in the way in the level that I show up. And I love being an aunt, but that was definitely a journey. And I wish I could have told myself it's going to be okay
Well,
all those years ago.
but you are a parent when you think about
Oh,
it. You're just a
100%.
you're a parent in a totally different way. Your parents needed parents, right?
Hmm.
Your clients need parents. So
Yeah.
it's all in how you shape it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, even Dean is sometimes I think he's a teenager in the house and I have to parent him.
There
And of course he's listening to this, but I love you. And yes, put your dishes in the dishwasher, not the
I need
sink.
to be parented sometimes. It's
We
okay.
all
Yeah,
do. We
you
have to
are.
parent ourselves
We
too.
do.
That's
Yes.
super part of the journey that we have to kind of say, okay, well, how am I going to show up as this higher self for myself in this instance?
Yep.
Now, Daphne, you're launching a podcast, which I'm incredibly excited about and honored that you are joining the Casa de Confidence Productions. But tell me a little bit more about what's the wound or the truth behind the name of your podcast, or what is what is that name about when it comes to healing yourself?
Yeah, the name is Don't Fucking Shrink.
Love that.
And this all came from a conversation I was having with a group of business women, and just watching this woman give her goal and really and setting her intention, and you could see her drawing these really hard boundaries about this is what was going to be forward, and we were all encouraging her, and that slight tilt in her voice halfway through the conversation, she was like, well, I have to wait on this. And I just sort of exploded in my conversation, maybe interjected. That's just, that's who I've always been. And I'm like, don't fucking shrink. Like
Yeah.
don't back up. This is where you are. And what the wound is for me is being such a small, petite child, right?
Hmm.
Having people tell me I was too small to do things, or asking me to shrink to fit into a being one of four children and fitting a Christian mold, or whatever
Right.
it was, just asking me to always pretend, asking me always to be somebody else, at a very young age, and even being part of an industry that wants you to be small and
Yep.
only talk about, and not be authentic about what's really going on. So I feel like don't fucking shrink has always been a theme that every
Hmm.
time I sort of have that moment or that crossroads in my own life, or when I'm working with a client, that just bubbles to the top for me, where I'm like, no,
Ooh.
no, 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 no. This is that moment. You either shrink to what they want you to be, or pigeonhole you to what you wanted to be, or you move on. You make this decision. You're here. So my interviewing style for the podcast will be really talking about those moments where those
Mhm.
crossroads were and hit for those people.
Yeah. I think, this is the exciting part about seeing a podcast come to life, that from the first conversation, you were incredibly mission driven. And I understood the importance of not only the work that you do, but how that can definitely not only affect the individuals who are hearing this for the first time, learning to practice it with you and knowing how to implement it in their life. And then the ripple effect that these individuals will have within their workplaces, their families. And I do see that there's such great things coming for the podcast. Now, what is the one conversation when it comes to women specifically behind closed doors? Do you think that there's conversations that we're not having that we should be having?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's so many conversations at every stage.
Mhm.
When you're a new mom, that's a really interesting time to have conversations with people. And being an older new mom, I'm not afraid to ask questions. That's my favorite thing to do in the
Love
world.
that.
And it's having conversations and letting people know it's okay to not know. It's
Mhm.
okay to not have it all together. And when we get to menopause, we get to perimenopause, we're afraid to have those conversations because there's this belief that we're at the exit of our
Mhm.
usefulness or our
Mhm.
beauty or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be, when really this is the turning point that we become ourselves again, right? And
Mhm.
we're not having those conversations and being honest with each other. We're hiding these things. We're hiding our sweats. We're hiding these things because we're trying to contour makeup our way into feeling better in that moment. But the truth is, the more authentic people show up, the more vulnerable they're willing to be with each other, the more their legacy is going to grow. And I'm talking
Mm,
about leadership, right? We're going to disrupt this whole idea that we can't talk about what we're feeling and what we're experiencing. And we're going to make it a better place for every generation here thereafter.
mm, amazing. I follow someone online and I spoke about it briefly this week on Instagram. And again, I kind of feel like I know her, right? Like we know many of these people online. And sadly, she passed away this week, Rachel Luna. And one of the things that really hit me is in her when they put the post on Instagram, it said sunrise for her date of birth and sunset for her for the time that she died. And one of the things that really hit me is that our legacy, right? She may be gone, and when the sun sets, there is still a sunlight out there. There is still that warmth, the rays. We may not be seeing it. We may be in darkness. And I really believe that the work that we're doing through podcasting, through bringing our message to the world, is that we are, no matter when we are, creating a legacy that other people can benefit from. And I know that that is part of the work that you will be doing with your podcast. You're creating a legacy for others to come after you and to not only learn and benefit, but really then help others do the same. So, this is one of the biggest things that I'm excited to hear everything that you'll be doing with the show.
Me too. Thank you for all your help.
No, well, listen, that's you're helping me do something that I love. That's like you keep me in my jam. Now, if people want to live in alignment, who you who do you think that they really need to be that it's not expected by the world?
Hmm. But they need to be in alignment.
And
I think
is there
that's
such a thing to always be in alignment?
I mean, that's the key, right? Is to
Hmm.
and that's sort of some of the conversations I have with letting people know what alignment feels like. It just feels like energy.
Hmm.
You know, if you have an energy about you, if you have a my good friend from the Netherlands, she said this word, and ever since then I can't get rid of it. It's called solange.
Ooh,
And
I
basically it's
think
like
I've heard this word
it's
before.
perfume. It's like it's basically like she had explained it to me, but basically it's like perfume. It's your essence. Like it's if
Mm,
you are who you are in the world, you show up and you permeate and you just benefit everyone around you from your existence. But if you're hiding who you are, if you're shrinking, if you're suppressing what that is, you're not sharing that perfume and nobody's benefiting.
absolutely, absolutely. Oh, so much to unpack. So many exciting things coming up. What
Yes.
can we expect of the show when it drops, and why should people tune in?
We are just going to get this show going right on Labor Day. Let's start
Okay.
with our first 4 episodes, and we want to make sure that it's not one topic specific. So I
Yeah.
know sometimes health and wellness podcasts tend to get mixed in that, but we are going to talk about some clients who had really big transformations physically by changing their diet and
Ooh.
ignoring some of their doctor's advices
Mhm.
or labels that they were given. And also people who came from small communities and turned out to be the face of politics or the face of, it's amazing how these people didn't take the hand that they were given
Mhm.
or what they did with the hand they were given. That's my favorite part.
So good. And I can't wait to see and get a preview of all these exciting conversations. Dan tends to hear them first, but I also get to peek in there. I want to close with one thing that I ask from time to time of the guest, and I am curious to see what your answer is going to be. Confidence is fill in the blank.
Quiet for me.
Mm,
Confidence is quiet.
I love that.
It doesn't need to be said. It just needs to be felt. And I
Ugh,
think when people try to be too loud about their confidence, it undermines the entire thing. So for me, confidence is quiet. It's knowing, it's feeling, it's being connected to yourself.
Mhm. Beautiful, beautiful said. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And we're going to have all your information in the show notes so that, my friend, if you're listening, you can go and connect with Daffney. You can follow her on all of the social media platforms. But more importantly, I want to encourage you to go and listen to the podcast because it's juicy. And every one of us needs to have that reminder to not fucking shrink. So let's do it, people. Until next time, my friends, don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Thank you, Daffney.
Thank you.